Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. My name is Lucas, and today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building an advanced blog system in our Framer project, right? An advanced CMS system that consists of different features powered by Superfields. So different features that include dynamic filtering, real-time search, social sharing, Masonry layout, and pagination, right? If we go deeper into each one, we can click on dynamic filtering. And basically we can go down here and you can see that for each, collection item, there are a few different categories. So there's a name, right? Ryan, Isaac, Georgia. And then there's a color, and then there's a featured label or no featured label. So you can, for example, filter them for only featured. You can do featured and red, right? And you can do featured and a name, right? So we can remove this. We can put all. We can remove the colors, remove this feature. We can put green and a specific name, and voila. So that's the first topic. The second topic is real-time search. So basically in Framer, you can already put like a search bar and type something and then press enter to search. Here you can, look at some specific, keyword like Superfields, and in real time, it basically shows you the results. Also, you can see here that there's this, heart symbol, and that basically saves to the browser. So whenever you refresh the page, that heart is going to still be there. So that's a really cool feature as well. Then we have social sharing. So social sharing, basically, if I were to click on one of these, it opens my Twitter and creates a new draft with the specific link, right? And you can do that with other types of social accounts like Facebook, Pinterest, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, and whatnot. And the final thing, or the final two things, Masonry layout. So we have Masonry layout, which is basically like a nice layout system for your CMS. So you can have a type of layout like this, right? And it's totally adjustable. Here they're doing 4 columns right now. You can do it to 3, you can do it to 5. Here, I don't know why it's just showing 1, but it should be, a second ago it was showing more. But we can add that as well. And then under pagination, right, we have pagination, we have page 1, page 2, page 3, and so that's this. These are like great little features to add in your blog system for your Framer site in order to, make it a little bit more advanced and enhance the UX for your users. And before we dive deep into this, into our own project, I just want to show you like this starter kit that I was provided with, that Superfields provided me with, or insert frame. And it's basically like a collection of all of the different features and components that they have for Superfields. So if I were to press play, or actually before we press play, you can see here under the stack, there are a few different filters. So if we zoom in, you can see all preview project reset filters. There's one with a radio button. There's one with shuffle, right? And if we were to press play, you can see that these are kind of linked to a specific collection in this project, right? To this collection, to be specific. So if we were to click here, we can see filters, and it says filter by CMS field type multi-reference, field name blogs, reference text, reference type, I guess, or reference field name title, right? So this is referencing the title. So it's, as you can see, you can click on a certain component, and then on the right side, it's fully customizable, right? So this is just to give you like a quick glimpse of what's possible. So you can select certain topics, you can multi-select, right? So this is like the first thing, and here we can see all on or off. So these are also different types of filters that we can apply. We can reset the filters, we can shuffle the order, and so on and so forth. And by the way, here, if we go out of the preview mode, we can see this search bar. That is what we saw in the website, which is like this real-time search. So if I were to, and you can see that it is also linked to a specific CMS. So we can go here and press play, and we can search for create and all of these have a create keyword in them, right? And then over here we have our little filter, right? So this would filter to this CMS field. We can also add a favorites, right? But we'll do that at the end. But basically you can go here and you can filter between purple or blue. As you can see, there's a purple keyword over here. So these are blue and purple, right? And if we go to the CMS, you can see that here we have that as an option, right? We have blue and purple, purple, blue, purple, right? So we have different options for that. And we also have this pagination. So if I were to go like this, click on next, we have the next page, right? If I were to, for example, click on purple and then, well, sometimes it's not really happening here. Well, I can remove this, but sometimes if I were to click next and that certain topic isn't available, you can see no items matching filters, reset filters. And that is basically the next component, which is the main Superfields component, where you would link your blog collection, right? The blog collection has to be outside of the frame, and you would link that to this, and you would basically give that as the blog right here. And then you can link this as well to this empty state, and that would be linked to the empty state, right? So whenever there's something empty, that links to this, right? It's like a logical step here. All right, now that we have a good understanding of this, we can go ahead and open Framer and open a new project. I'm just gonna, close this, bring this one over here, and set up a new project. And the first thing that we want to do, we're going to pretend that we have a home page, right? That you have your home, that you have your whole page system set up. You have your home page, your about page, whatever, right? This is for a client maybe. Let's add a blog, right? So we're going to have to go here to CMS, and we can either import, a CMS collection, or we can add a blog. I'm just going to add a blog so that we have like a default blog to work with. And at the same time, I'm also going to have Superfields here. I'm logged in on the side, right? Just to have it like as a navigation system. And what I want to do first is I want to look at my different collections. So I have two collections that are default from Framer. I have my articles, I have my categories. Great. So with my articles, we want to go to edit fields and we want to kind of review everything. So we have title, slug, date, image, categories, and content. So we can go ahead here and probably add so the first thing that I want to add is maybe like a featured, right? So what we would need is like an option, right? So yes or no. And we would call this one featured. And we would have yes or no. So let's just put yes, and let's just put over here no. So whenever it's tagged as yes, it is a featured blog article. Whenever it's no, it's not a featured one. Okay. And actually, let's go back a step. Let's not make it let's not make it like this. Let's maybe not an option. Let's use a toggle. Maybe that might be a little bit more interesting. And let's put featured, right? So we have yes or no. So this one, for example, is not featured. This one is also not featured. Now, the next thing that I want to do is, link this to different categories. So we can go back to edit fields and go like this and do a multi-reference, and we can multi-reference to the categories. So we have categories. Well, we already have it here. And let me see if we already have it here. So it's already referenced to the categories. So what we can do is we can go back and delete this. I didn't actually see this. So let's just delete this. And yeah, so this is great. What we can do is we can also reference to other articles. So we can go ahead and click on edit fields and do a reference to articles. So there's no default collection. So let's just leave it like that. And then what we can do is we can go over here and kind of feature a few other articles that have to do with this one. And I'm using a single reference. You can do a multi-reference, however you want. But yeah, we're just doing this as an example. So now we have different article references. That's great. And when I return to the front end, to the visual front end of Framer, we have this blog index page and we have the detail pages. Let's go back to this index page and let's go to the layers and let's actually move this out of here, right? We want to move this out of here. Remember in that starter kit that I was showing you in the beginning of the video, they had the collection outside, and that's one of the main things to keep in mind. So first thing that we want to do before we add any favoriting, pagination, dynamic filtering. So by the way, I'm just looking here at the main power-ups, right? So all of these, I would want to maybe start off with like a Masonry layout, right? So we can go ahead and look at these different features one by one. So for the Masonry layout, I'm just going to go click this and we have the Superfields component and we have this aspect ratio image. So I'm going to, and by the way, you can remix this Framer project, which is the one that I was showing you earlier. And that's kind of like, it gives you like a quicker guide for getting started. And Insert Frame provides great quick video tutorials on how to set everything up. So in this case, the first thing that I want to do is I want to copy this component, Superfields, and paste it below this text element over here. Make sure that this width is set to fill. And by the way, we're going to resize this a little bit. We don't want the width. We don't want a max width over here. We want this to be fill. And we want this desktop to have, you know, 0 gap over here. So Framer gives us like this default padding that I don't really like so much. But what we can do is we can just set, just fix this a little bit. And let's put this into another stack, call it blog. Yeah, my L isn't working so well. All right, and then we put 60 everywhere just to start off. And now we have something going on, right? So for this, we can go ahead and just connect this and put it to the collection list. So notice how it's saying collection list or empty state. That's where we have to connect the empty state one in the feature, right? So let's just put collection list. And right now it's connected to this collection list. And what you want to do now is go to styling, click on layout. And then in layout, we have Masonry. So we have 2, 3, 4. And we can edit basically the gap, the horizontal, vertical gap. We can leave it at 10. I think that's good. And if we press play, we kind of see something. It's still not, you know, 100%. We can edit a few things. Let's leave this at 3, right? And start playing this. Now it's looking a little bit better. And maybe we want to style this in a different way, right? So that's what's not looking so nice at the moment. So maybe let's just put this downwards. Let's set this to fill. Let's give this a fixed height of around 300 for now. Let's remove, or let's put these categories on the left side, or let's align everything here to be on the left. Boom. So now it's going to look a little bit better, I assume. Yeah, perfect. So now we have these 3 columns, and we have the name, we have the categories. They are a little bit too separated, so we could, you know, eventually make the things together by adding a stack here, making it left aligned, keeping the gap to 10, and then maybe increasing the gap here to about 40. Well, maybe less. Maybe 20 would be good. And now it's starting to look a little bit better, right? And the gap here is still 10. You might want to increase that gap inside of the Masonry layout. So we go back here, we go back to styling, go back to layout, and we can increase the gap. I guess it's the horizontal gap. No, yeah, it would be the horizontal gap. Let's just put it to 30 and see. No, it's the other one. my bad. Go back here, 10, and we can put this to 40. And now you can see that there's this nice space between everything. But everything seems to have a same, a similar type of width and height. It would be nice if we had different images, right, with different aspect ratios. So that's where we come to the next point here, which is. But before we do that, I'm going to go back to the CMS and I'm just going to edit some of these images so they're not all the same in terms of aspect ratio, right? I'm going to be using a plugin called Lumi, and in Lumi you can already start seeing that there's images with different aspect ratios. For example, this one is much shorter than this one, right? So I'm going to be using different images just to show you this example. So I've basically uploaded the images and you can see that there's a difference, but there is not really a difference in terms of sizing. That's because I put this at a fixed height. So what we're going to do now is we're going to copy this aspect ratio image, and we're going to go here to articles, under article singular, paste this component, right? We're going to put it up here, and we're going to, pretend that this is the image, right? So we're going to set this to fill, and we're going to remove this, and we're going to not set this to fill. Let's give it a fixed height for now of around 400. And I just want to preview how this would look like with a fixed height. No, so it's not really with a fixed height. Okay, so based on this little video tutorial, it says paste the image, paste this aspect ratio over here. And what we need to do is we're not going to set it to a fixed height. We're just going to set the variable to image, right? So now you can start seeing that the image actually, adapts to their original height. So we can go ahead and click on play, blog, and now we can see this cool masonry effect really taking into place. So let me just increase the size a little bit so you can see more, right? And we can even add more items to our collection, or we can edit this layout to have less columns. So let's just put 2, and we can already start seeing that it's looking like this. Really, really fancy, right? Cool for like a portfolio type of project or like a more artistic type of website, right? But this is basically the first step, which is adding this masonry layout to our blog. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is this item count label, right? So let's say that you have a large number of different blog posts that you have in your website or in your client's website, and underneath the title you want to say there are 200 total blog posts, right? So what we can do is we can get this text, we can duplicate it, put it underneath, and I'm going to add a stack here. And I'm going to change this from a H1 to something like a body text for now, right? And in this body text, I'm going to double click and write, keep this at a fit width, and make sure that the stack is going like this, left aligned, right? And then I'm going to duplicate this, put these in a stack that are going horizontally aligned and distributing to the start, right? So there are blah, blah, blah blog posts, right? And in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to copy this component over here from the item count label, right? So if I make this larger, you can see item count label, there's one component, right? It says 5 items. What we can do is we can just go like this and paste this right in here, put this over here, and we can style this to make it look like the same type of font that we're using here, and edit the gap to decrease the spacing, right? So there are 0 blog posts for now, but then now there are 5, right? Because we have 5 blog posts at total. So this is with this item count label that I think is quite useful if you have a lot of certain blog posts about a specific. Another simple thing that we can add here Very simple because it's just a matter of copy paste. There's this randomization shuffle button, and you can just add it underneath, you know, your title stack, for example, or you can put it underneath your entire collection. So if we move this over here, put this down somewhere over here, I guess, right? You can do that. And then once you are pressing play and you scroll all the way down, you can click on shuffle, and it shuffles the results of your blogs, right? So this is a very quick thing to do. You know, I don't really need this in many use cases, but it's good to have. I would say it's something good to have if you have a lot of content about a specific topic. Let's say that you have like a bunch of remix links for Framer, and let's say that you have like around 200 of them, and you don't want people to, you know, just scroll and scroll to look for something. They can just press on shuffle just to look for new ones like that, right? That can probably be a good use case for this shuffle button. Now I've added a few more items to the collection. As you can see, we have like 11 in total, right? And what I want to look at now is this pagination, right? So we have previous and next buttons, we have load more buttons, and we have infinite scrolls. In this case, I want to look at this previous and next button, so we can go ahead and click that. And once again, Insert Frame has a great, you know, little tutorial for you to follow. But basically here it says components, pagination buttons. So once we have this with the pagination, right, pagination button, what we want to do is we want to go into Framer and find our articles. And right now, if we scroll all the way down, we have 11. We want to limit this to maybe 4 per page. So what we can do here is we can style this. First of all, let's add a pagination to load more, right? And then you can already start seeing there's 4 items. Let's leave it at 4, right? That's what we said. So, and we have this load more button. We want to just remove that, and we want to replace that with this paginations button. So we can go ahead and go to this outer stack, and we can probably place these pagination buttons at the top. Maybe we can align them to the left. And if you want to style these buttons to be something different, maybe the previous one can be gray or white or something like that. You can use the styling over here to do all of that. You can add some background blur if you want as well. You can add some shadows, right? And you have some different settings. So match with ID on Superfields component. We don't really want to go so deep into that, but let's just see how this would look like. So right now there is no previous, so there's just a next, but basically this is how it would look like, right? Very, very simple, easy to use, plug and play method. And the same thing is with this pagination label. Just copy, paste, make sure to put it wherever you want, press play, and you can start seeing that page 2, page 3. Maybe you want to put this, oh, and look how it's like basically everywhere. That's a little mistake that we did. We want to put this outside of this, right, and put it over here. Maybe we would want these to be together in a stack like this. Press play, and now we can start seeing that they're starting to look a little bit more like it. And the next thing that we want to cover is favoriting certain collections or collection items, right? So first thing that we want to do is, I mean, we have our articles here outside of the frame, and what we want to do is we want to just copy this favorite button and paste that somewhere inside of this over here, right? We can put it under the image. We could eventually put it over the image as well. In this case, we'll probably just leave it here on top of the title, right? And then if I were to press play, right, I can scroll down and I can favorite a few things. I can reload this, and it kind of remembers what I favorited, right? And but what if we want to find a good way to, you know, keep track of our favorite blog items, right? That's where favorite filter comes in. So what we can do is, again, very, very intuitive, plug and play, just copy this, paste this outside of the article item. So over here, and it's loading, there it finished loaded. Now we can put that up here, or we can probably put it maybe under these pagination buttons, right? And we can go here and do the setup. Right now it's set to favorites, so that's perfect. So what we can do is we can just go back here and we have a few things favorited. Now we could just press OK. So let's just go back here. And then we have to be on page 1 because there's not enough. We don't have more than 4 things favorited. So once we're back on page 1, it basically shows our 2 favorited CMS collection items, right? Which are these 2. Okay, so that's favoriting. Now the next thing that we want to cover is filtering. It's quite similar to favoriting, but it's a little bit more advanced, right? Because with favoriting, it's just like yes or no, right? It's my favorite or it's not my favorite. With filtering, there can be a few more options here. And what we can do is we can just copy this and we can just paste this to exactly where we had our other filter, right? So this is basically the same type of filter. But here we have the setup set to favorites. And this one, we're going to have the setup set to CMS field. So it's basically the same component that we have. In this case, we're going to do CMS field, and we have to go back into our CMS and see what we want to filter this by. We can choose categories, or we can choose featured, right? With this toggle. In this case, we want to choose this categories, and this categories is basically like a reference, right? And it seems to be a multi-reference. So we can go back here, go back to our setup, write categories, and it's a multi-reference, reference the title, it's text, perfect. And then we have to just choose, so connect this to the same. This must be outside of the page. Okay, so let's just test to see if this is working. So right now it's not. We did some error, but let's just go ahead and check to see what's happening. Or we can try ahead and go with the featured. So featured, and this was a toggle, right? And we can go ahead and see if that works. So we can go ahead, favorites. So these are all featured ones. So we have, I guess, like 4 featured ones. We can go ahead and double check. Yeah, these 4, right? So these were the 4 that were shown. And if I were to make this not featured, we can go here and see. Okay, set this to on. Right, we can't go to another page because we have only our featured ones. Right, but with this one we can. So we can go next, Here, it's basically telling us to go to one page where we have our featured ones. So yeah, I hope this was a helpful little tutorial for you guys, right? You can basically add different types of filters with your different categories or custom, types of filtering options that you want to add to your specific blog. You can shuffle things, you can reset filters, you can, toggle things on or off. You can add different filters here for different categories, right? And you can favorite different items, and the browser would basically remember that, which is great. You can add this pagination for the next and previous. As you can see here, the previous is set to gray. So in our case, we had it disappeared. It would be nice if it would something like this where you can't really click on it. It's better UX. So it's very customizable as well. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. Please let me know in the comments if you'd like to see any other type of tool related to Framer or Lovable that you want me to do a little deep dive on. So yeah, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.